Hey guys, and welcome back to another banal but unrelenting episode of NTom and Volk's Spot of PC. Today we're going to be playing one of my favourite classic games, Lemmings, but we're doing it a little bit differently today. Volk, before I do trivia and such, do you want to explain how we're covering the game?
We are covering the game by using a program called Lemmings, which is a perfect clone of the Lemmings game. And this is probably one of the only ways I could find to actually play it, because either there's a system incompatibility or something along those lines. So it's thanks to Lemmings that we're able to bring you this game today.
Which Lemmings games are compiled into this particular emulated thing?
I believe it is Lemmings and also Oh No More Lemmings.
Oh jeez, yet more Lemmings.
That's what they should have named the third one.
So, Lemmings originally came out in 1991, and it had a lot of different developers because it was ported a lot, like DMA Design, and I think Fred Publishing did something called Sam Coupe or whatever. Imagineer did PC-98, Chrysalis Software, Archimedes, Ocean Software for, I think that's Game Boy, like GB, Probe for the Super Mass System and Game Gear, Sunsoft for the Mega Drive version, which I grew up with, and also the Super Nintendo, Rusty Nuts for the PS2, Tarantula Studios for the Game Boy Color, and Team 17, who I think are the Worms people for PSP.
Yeah, Team 17 are the brainchild behind Worms.
So, what's the dealio with Lemmings?
Right, Lemmings! It's a puzzle game in where you've got to try and rescue all these cute little blue pajama, green-haired dudes without killing them, or killing as few as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes in this game, death is unavoidable.
There's a certain completion rate for each level, and if you manage to get under that, well, you're fucked. You're gonna have to start all over again.
But if you succeed, you can advance to the next level, and the lemmings that you sacrifice to get to that point just become a fleeting memory.
Now, each lemming, much like Pikmin, serve their own particular role. You've got, blockers, you've got miners, diggers. You seem to have a nuclear explosion over there, which I'm not really sure I'm that comfortable with.
That is the nuke button, and if you want to fail the level in a spectacular fashion because you made a mistake, you can just press the nuke button and just watch them all explode. It's a lot more spectacular than just simply pressing escape. Also, it's a good way to get rid of all your blockers as well. I should probably mention that too.
Yeah, of course, of course. So what's your memories with Lemmings, mate?
The original Lemmings I played in primary school in about year 2. They actually had, it was either a PC or an Amiga, and they had Lemmings set up over there that sometime during playtime you can just sit over there and play a bit of Lemmings.
Nice.
I actually got most of my Lemmings gameplay on Lemmings 2 Tribes on the Mega Drive. And that was a fun version of Lemmings, because not only does it give you the Lemmings gameplay you know, love, and expect, but it also puts a unique twist on it by giving you different environments and all that sort of thing. So you get loads of different themed actions for your Lemmings. So where you may have a blocker on the standard levels, like in the Highland level, your blocker is instead replaced by a Lemming that can play the bagpipes and stop all your Lemmings by making them dance. It's pretty fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that.
Oh, they're climbing. They're climbing.
Spider Lemming, Spider Lemming.
Can do whatever a lemming can, which, by the way, does not include walking to their deaths off of cliffs. That is a lie perpetuated by the media.
Yes, don't believe the media.
Also, Santa Claus ain't real. Your parents are putting money under your pillow, not the Tooth Fairy. And HFC, it's probably not the best commentary group ever. I've been throwing shit and seeing what sticks, really.
Damn it, I've been lied to this entire time.
I'm sorry, mate, I'm sorry. You were actually part of the worst commentary group.
Oh well, I'll make the most of it, I suppose.
I always love the graphical style of Lemmings, and I know I'm a bit of a retro fag when it comes to this sort of thing, but it's just very charming.
The Lemmings themselves are very, very simple, but they really pulled out the stops for actually making the backgrounds.
This was the era of, the cute little mascots and whatnot. Not just for platformers, for pretty much everything, really. So, Lemmings and Worms kind of go together in my mind, in terms of, the sort of, strategy, puzzle game sort of things. Worms was more action than puzzle, per se, but it still had a puzzle element to it.
And losing your friends as well, because you put that bazooka in just the right position.
Just watching them go back and forth, it's cool.
I do like the music for this game as well.
Mm-hmm.
They use a lot of classical music and sort of edit it in their own unique way. It's very charming.
We've got a guy to punch through what seems to be steel.
Yeah, I mean, Lemmings are no joke. They have superpowers, man.
Alright, mate, enough faffing about. What are we doing in this installment of Spotted PC? What parts of the game are we covering?
Well, we're covering the first 10-11 levels just to kind of give you an idea of sort of like what to do and how the game plays out. Then we're going to take on some tricky levels, or should I say taxing levels. There are 4 difficulty levels in this game, and they range from fun, tricky, taxing, and the Big Daddy itself, Mayhem.
You're not going to play any on Mayhem, mate?
Mayhem is extremely difficult. Like, it is difficult to the point of tedious sometimes, because usually they give you the exact right amount of resources you need, and you have to do it in a very specific way. Like, we're talking pixels worth of timing and building or digging or whatever. It's not very fun.
Yeah, we don't have Mexi to take the shot here for us. We can't have Mexi version 2, you know, getting all the lemmings to safety, so we've got to be a bit more careful.
I do try and show off a little bit, though. I do try and, like, get levels where traditionally you'll try and sort of sacrifice a couple of lemmings, but to those levels I said to thee, nay, no lemming gets left behind.
I always loved how they just randomly, like, intersperse levels with, like, hellish themes and whatnot.
They do give you a lot of variety with these levels, and that's kind of why I like Lemmings 2 Tribes, because they took that variety and kicked it up a notch.
Oh.
Like, they even went as far as sort of like changing the lemmings themselves depending on the levels. Like in the Highlander levels again, the lemmings are also red-haired, and in the snow levels the lemmings are all completely blue.
Props for bringing up, like, the same point but putting a new twist on it, by the way. I struggle with that sometimes when it comes to commentary.
I just love Lemming 2 Tribes and how they presented it.
Did you ever play Lemmings 3D? Because I never got far in that game because my old PC back in the 90s was really crap. I couldn't even run this, like, create your own small soldiers game and then fight them. It just would not run properly, probably the graphics card. But I've always had a little bit of a fondness for Lemmings 3D. Also Worms 3D, but then again I do have a sickness when it comes to liking games that aren't of a certain quality.
But I will say I never got the chance to play Lemmings 3D. It was probably because I was distracted by other games around that time. But I did look into it a little bit, and it seems to have aged very poorly, let's just say that.
More so than Sonic Adventure, would you say?
Oh, definitely. It's like that really, like, blocky 3D. Like, it probably would have been fine about that time, but for somebody who's never played it before and took one look at it and just thought, like, ugh.
Yeah, I was just fascinated by games in general back then.
I suppose as well, it was sort of like the first time we were properly seeing 3D in that way as well, so I guess there's a bit of legacy involved with that being like one of the first 3D games out there.
Bit of a novelty at the time.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, 3D was more of a gimmick until they eventually perfected it and now it's the norm.
Is there any way to speed up these fuckers getting to their destination?
No, the only thing you can actually speed up is the rate in which the lemmings fall down, which is why you sometimes get these conga lines right near the end where I just sped up the drop rate. Sometimes you can adjust it though, so you got to the point where you can have between 50 and 99. You can't go below what the minimum is, so sometimes you're just stuck on 99 and you just have to live with it.
Have you ever played a level where 100% was the required percentage to beat the level?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of levels like that, and there's even some levels where that is required, but there are areas where you think you have to sacrifice your lemmings.
Ooh, that was a really easy level.
Well, there's a reason why it's called Not As Complicated As It Looks.
Yep, I suppose so.
Although I imagine you can probably cheek your way out of 100% by sort of turning a lemming around by building, like, a bridge somewhere.
That's the thing with puzzle games as well. Underthinking is a problem, but sometimes you can overthink, especially games like Professor Layton and whatnot.
Well, that's kind of when Mayhem kind of forces you into that situation almost, because there's sometimes very specific solutions to the problem, and they're not as obvious as just saying, click thing, click lemming, watch thing happen. You have to really, really think about it. Like, you may have to use a pickaxe to go down to a certain point, then interrupt it by building so that you create a blockade without actually sacrificing a lemming.
Ooh, this looks nasty.
Yeah, and there's no way to stop the flood of lemmings, so you kind of have to spam the punch the wall key and just hope one of them doesn't end up dying, although you can lose a couple in this level. As we saw there. Rotary blades, you can't fuck with them.
It's cool, we got this.
Yep. We've rescued more than enough, so no worries.
It just never ends, Volk. It never ends.
Yippee, 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 yippee.
It's more infectious than do 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 do.
Soon you'll be hearing that to the Lemmings saying yippee.
Yeah.
Yip, yip, yippee, yip,
Oh,
yip, yippee.
No. Bad enough that I hum the friggin' theme park thing in between recording sessions.
Smile if you love Lemmings. Oh, I'm smiling alright.
I am. It's impeding the commentary process, but I'm doing it.
Now, this one is where I tried to show off a bit, because I think normally you're supposed to lose a couple of Lemmings by them going the other way, but I thought, nah, I'm going to try and save all these cute little bastards.
You can do this, mate. You got this.
So yep, I used the stairs to turn this guy around, because obviously he hit the ceiling, so he just goes back the other way. So that's one Lemming saved, where he probably would have died. And now I've got to take care of all these guys, which are piling up quite significantly.
I'm loving the remix of an already established piece of music, by the way.
Oh yeah, the Lemmings soundtrack was all about that. They have loads of classical tunes in there that have been remixed in Lemmings glory.
Well, it's not the only game to do that. Like, even Banjo-Kazooie, like, the main theme you hear throughout Gruntilda's Lair is just the teddy bear's picnic.
Yeah, but there is an advantage that the music itself is immediately recognisable. You know kind of what it is.
Yeah, I suppose that lends like a sort of familiar charm to the whole thing, and with the Lemmings being as cute as they is, it just makes it like a very friendly and welcoming sort of puzzle game.
There you go. 100% rescue. No Lemming left behind. Now this one's a little bit on the trickier side, because the arrows mean that you cannot dig anywhere other than that direction. So what we have to do is we have to send the Lemming up ahead and turn him around so that he can then dig through the other side and then lead our Lemmings to Le Grand Exit.
Ah, okay. That's pretty smart, actually.
And in this case also, to stop him from just going into the goal, I use some steps to build over the exit. Actually, I think that's actually what you have to do, although I think you can use a pickaxe to stop yourself on the metal blocks down below, and then turn yourself the other way like that.
I love the fact that there's a pause button, and it's literally a pair of paws.
Yep. Visual aid, if you so need it. Just in case you didn't know what the nuke sign means.
You can get as fancy as you want music. I can still hear the London Bridge is falling down portion of the song.
Oh, same here, same here. And now back on his maiden voyage. He's gonna punch his way through and help his Lemming friends to freedom.
I'm going to assume that you'll have to dig through that bridge to let everyone else get to the exit.
Yep, that's right, although we've got plenty of resources to do exactly that, so that won't be a problem. Just a sea of Lemmings at the bottom. You can barely make them out.
Where are we going? Doesn't matter, we're just happy to be here.
It's the cutest mosh pit you've ever seen.
It's so blatant, Volk. It's so blatant.
I know. You just can't unhear it, is the problem. So, when you played through Lemmings, how far did you get? Did you fancy yourself a bit of a Lemmings expert, or were you fairly middle ground, as it were?
Can I phone a friend?
Ah, I see. I will admit that once I got to around the mid-late portion of taxing, it got a bit troublesome. Then it got to Mayhem, and then I thought, okay, I need to put this down.
Dude, I grew up playing shit like Sonic 3 and Knuckles and whatnot, you know? I'm not really an expert when it comes to the more, shall we say, brain-challenging sort of games.
That is fair enough.
Like with RTSs, I've always had like I guess you could say a gamer crush on the puzzle game genre. Like, I loved the Professor Layton series, love like Tetris Attack, and so on. But in the heat of the moment, I just kind of freeze up. So it's like, stuff like this just always kind of trips me up, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and I guess that's kind of why they had it in schools and things like that, because it kind of forces you to use your brain a bit.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's one of those, I guess you can say, it's educational in a sense, but it's not so obvious that you're kind of still having fun with it and not knowing that you're kind of doing basic problem solving. Now, the one thing that gets very difficult with this game is when you have to track down a single Lemming within the sea. So, you want to go a particular direction, but there's just so many Lemmings that you can't quite click the right one to get him to go where you want him to go.
And you'll notice that we have like tons of different, what the fuck?
Yes, this is where the taxing levels that I did begin.
Oh.
And this has actually been meant to be based off another video game called Awesome. But good luck trying to search for that on Google, because you'll probably find about 10 billion results which aren't it.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm gonna have a look now.
Good luck.
Video game's awesome. Thanks. Back to the video.
That's exactly what I mean. And in this occasion, I did the whole pickaxe to a block of stairs to create a blockade without having to sacrifice a lemming. And there's a conveniently placed wall on the other side. So now I've got all my lemmings being funneled into a safe spot whilst I have one lemming go on a maiden voyage to build the safe path across.
He is the bravest lemming in the world. If I saw this, I'd turn around, defying lemming logic, and just go home and have a cup of tea, really.
Fair enough. Now, there's a reason why this level in particular is taxing. It's because all those little pointy protrusions coming out from the side there, you know, the spiky business, I guess you can also call it.
yes, you can.
You can actually trap your lemmings in between there and actually make it very difficult to progress. So you kind of got to navigate yourself in just the right way. And you know those stars that scatter the level? That's actually part of the terrain. So you could just as easily bump into one of those and screw over your entire strategy.
Wow.
So you kind of got to take the high ground whilst at the same time going in such a way that you either use the stars to increase the length of your platforms, or you just make your stairways completely avoiding them.
Maybe it's for the best that I didn't get this far in the game. I definitely would not have been able to hack this kind of taxing nature.
That's fair enough. But I like the look of this level, so I thought I'd feature it here just because it's just like, dude, there's like serpent dragons and things like that here. How can I not include this?
Definitely visually appealing, yeah.
Well, it just goes back to the whole they wanted to make the actual terrain as appealing as it can be. Seeing as the lemmings are very basic, it kind of draws your eye to it as well. Like, the lemmings are just kind of there. It's the terrain that you're really more worried about.
Like, this whole, like, carving your way through the terrain it is very much putting me in mind of worms.
I can't imagine it's alright for the dragon, though. He must be having immense back pain right now.
No, it's cool. They died thousands of years ago. These are just their, like, fossilized carcasses.
Oh, fair enough.
The deepest lemming lore.
Of course. Yeah, you notice there that because I was like 1 pixel off, it actually sent me backwards, and if I wasn't careful, I could have fallen down to the bit below there, and that would have made this portion extremely difficult.
Yeah, you'd have crisscrossing bridges and whatnot everywhere.
Yeah, it's more to the point as well that you only have a limited amount of resources, so you may not even necessarily have enough bridges to do that.
Just the thought of all those lemmings back there just sitting around doing nothing while this one guy clears a path for them is kind of funny, really.
He's looking for a pay rise, I think. He's going above and beyond the Call of Duty. I had to do a double check here just to make sure he would be able to clear the gaps, so I let him go back and forth a bit. Build another couple of stairs at the top just to make sure they have enough room. Because I think it's like 4 or 5 pixels that they can traverse up without being bounced backwards, so you can actually, if you have a sharp enough eye, count the individual pixels to make sure.
I think you have a problem, Volk. I think you have a serious gaming problem when it comes to counting pixels.
Well, actually, I didn't do that. I just made guesswork out of it. I don't want to be staring at the screen too closely. But you know, if you want to be a game master, quote-unquote, that is a thing that you can do.
Oh, here we go. The mass migration begins.
Now, it may only look like there's about 12, 13 lemmings there, but you'll see on the bottom there's actually 79, and they've all kind of merged into each other.
It becomes a lot less charming when you realise these lemmings are going off to colonise other planets.
Like, they're literally pretty much in space right now, so they are literally sort of surviving in space on the back of fossilized dragons to reach their next destination, where they can then populate the planet some more.
So, when you play on different difficulty levels, does it give you, like, specific levels to play?
Sometimes they'll give you levels you visited in previous difficulties, but just starve you of resources to the point where the method you used to get past there the first time won't work this time, so you kind of have to think a bit differently. But there are some levels that are completely unique, like I believe this one here is meant to be unique as they come, essentially.
Okay. I like that, like, difficulty level specific stuff. It just gives me a reason to, play on a harder difficulty level.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to be able to revisit levels you've seen before and have to tackle it in a different way.
Oh, this is mean. This is really mean.
Yep, you gotta build a bridge so that you land right in the middle. And this level is so notorious it actually is featured on TV tropes as, oh, that level.
Yeah, that one level. Ah, now see, this is what I was talking about. before I got rudely interrupted by the space worms. Certain levels in the game actually give you very specific amounts of the different types of lemmings to use, so you've got to get hyper anal retentive and OCD with how you manage these guys sometimes.
And this level's even worse, because you have to actually rescue every single lemming, so it gives you blockers, but you can't use them at all. And I think we just about scraped this one.
Yeah, you're gonna thread the eye of the needle, mate. Jesus Christ.
They're gonna get a light singeing, but otherwise, they'll be fine. It's all good.
Nicely done, mate. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
It actually took me a couple of attempts, but that was mostly because I had to try and get the pickaxe dude in just the right place.
I love how it says, why don't you try again? Why don't you eat my whole ass?
Just kiss my entire ass.
Yeah.
So you'll notice on this one we've got 3 different exits. The first one, the one right at the top, pretty simple. You just dig under, and there you go. Those lemmings will get to the exit. It's the ones on the sides that are going to be the tough one.
Oh yeah, you've got to really think ahead here, because there is a big gap in the middle.
The way to do this is that you have to build the bridges on both sides at the same time, because otherwise what will happen is that you'll get swarms of lemmings, and you can't actually target the right one, and you'll just get bridges all over the place. And you have a very limited number of bridges, so I build 2 bridges, and I focus on one and then the other once I have the first bridge kind of started out, because it's a lot easier to continue a bridge than it is to start a bridge from scratch.
I like how you put a hole in the bridge on the left so no one could follow you.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to rescue 98% of the lemmings in this level. So it does give you blockers, but you can't use them. So you have to stop them from walking off the bridge as it's being built and falling to their death.
Oh, Godspeed, right side lemmings.
Now, it's actually possible on this one to actually dig underneath the exit and make it inaccessible.
Ooh.
So if you're not careful and hit the bridge at just the right point, you'll also end up with the digger going straight through to the other side, and nobody will be able to exit.
Oh, and that was the end of the lemming race. Good day.
He dug a bridge too far.
Before we finish this episode, I would like to give a couple of shout-outs to other lemmings, I guess LPs or whatever, that I enjoyed. They're more like singular episodes, but whatever. The first one was on Game Center CX. That was pretty good. It's always nice to see Arino play puzzle games, because he's surprisingly good at them. And if you know Arino, you'll know that he's not always the best at games. The second one was a Steam Train episode featuring, I think it was Danny and Barry, and that came out at a time when, let's just say, the Game Grumps lineup wasn't the best. It was really chill, really enjoyable, and I really should add that to my list of Game Grumps and Steam Train episodes, recommendations.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed those too, actually. I haven't watched the Arino one yet, admittedly, but I definitely watched the Steam Train one.
Oh yeah.
And that is a done playthrough.
Okay, guys, if you want to try this out, it's Lemmix, Lemmix, and, try it for yourself. Try it on taxing, and we'll see you next time for another episode of NTom and Volk's Spot of PC. Bye for now.